So, you're aiming for the JKSSB JE Civil exam? Perfect. In this explainer, we're going to break down the exact data-driven strategy you need to turn this massive opportunity into a huge success. Let's jump right in.
And when I say massive opportunity, I mean it. We're expecting over 400 vacancies. This isn't just another test. For a lot of you, this is a career-defining moment.
But you know what comes with big opportunities, right? Fierce competition. That's why we're not just going to talk about working hard. We're going to talk about working smart. Let's dive into the data that's going to help you lock in your spot.
Okay, first things first. Before we can win the game, we got to know the rules. So what does the exam format actually look like?
The format is pretty straightforward on paper. 120 questions in 120 minutes. That's a minute per question. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the catch. There's a 0.25 negative marking for every wrong answer. So this isn't just a race against the clock. It's a high-stakes test of your accuracy. Every single decision you make counts. So, with a syllabus this huge, the million-dollar question is, where do you focus your energy? Where do you get the most bang for your buck? Well, the official blueprint gives us our first major clue.
Check this out. The syllabus is actually perfectly balanced. The entire 120 marks are split right down the middle, 50-50, between two different groups of subjects. You've got half the marks coming from just 4 subjects, and the other half coming from the remaining 6.
And this right here, this is the key to your entire strategy. Look to the left. You've got 4 heavy hitters, each worth a massive 15 marks. That's 60 marks, half the entire paper, from just 4 subjects. These have to be your #1 priority.
So the syllabus tells us what to study, but the past papers, they tell us how they're going to test it. That's where the real gold is. Let's dig into the patterns from the recent exams and see what really matters.
The single biggest takeaway from looking at past papers is this. Just memorizing formulas is not going to cut it. The exam is built to reward people who have a deep, crystal-clear understanding of the core concepts. They want to know the why and the how, not just the what.
And it's also all about application. You should expect to see real-world scenarios and numericals that might look simple but have a little twist. They're designed specifically to see if you can take that theory and apply it to a practical problem.
And hey, the numbers don't lie. A whopping 70% of the questions in the 2023 paper were conceptual. The other 30% were those numericals we talked about, testing your problem-solving chops. This breakdown right here is your guide for how to balance your prep time.
All right, let's zoom in. We're going to get really specific now and pinpoint the exact topics within those high-weighted subjects that give you the most marks. This is where you really need to focus your fire. So inside that first 15-mark monster section, Strength of Materials, or SOM, is the undisputed king. It accounted for 9 questions in the last paper. Right behind it is Engineering Mechanics. Structural analysis, it plays a smaller role, but it's still an important one.
So where do those questions actually come from? Well, key areas like shear force and bending moment and theory of columns, they each gave multiple questions. If you really master these specific topics, that's how you maximize your score in this section. Simple as that.
Moving on to our next big subject, fluid mechanics and hydraulics. The core subject of fluid mechanics just dominates here with 13 questions. But listen, do not sleep on open channel flow. It consistently delivers a few absolutely crucial questions every single time.
So to cover this ground efficiently, you want to focus right here. Pipe flow and the continuity equation are a huge source of questions. You master these core concepts, and you're well on your way to banking those 15 marks.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. In the RCC structures section, questions about concrete technology actually outnumbered the pure design questions, 8-5. What does that tell us? It tells us the exam is super focused on the material itself. And the high-yield topics just confirm this. It's all about the material science of concrete. You've got to focus on the tests, the admixtures, the water-cement ratios, not just the big structural design principles.
Okay, so we've broken down what to study in a lot of detail. But that's only half the battle, right? Now let's pivot to the equally important question. How do you actually study all this effectively?
Here it is, your 5-step action plan. It all starts with truly mastering those core concepts we just talked about. Then you dive into previous year questions to really get the pattern. After that, you've got to practice with timed tests, create short, clean notes for revision, and maybe most important of all, you got to be consistent, day in and day out. This plan combines deep knowledge with smart practice.
All right, let's put it all together. To really make our efforts count, we need a clear target. We need to define what success looks like so we know exactly what we're aiming for.
Now here's something you really need to think about. The recent paper was generally seen as being on the easier side. And when the paper is easier, what happens? The cutoffs go way up. That means just aiming for a safe score isn't going to be enough. You need to be aiming for a winning score.
For those of you in the open merit category, this is your target. This is the number you should be thinking about, aiming for a score somewhere in the 90 to 100 range out of 120. This isn't just about qualifying. This is about putting yourself in the best possible position to land a top rank.
So there you have it. You now have the entire blueprint. You know the format, the high priority subjects, the key topics to study. You've got a strategy and you've got a clear target. The data shows you the way. Now it's your turn to go out there and build your success.